Hello, so here is my 2-month update in video form this time. I just had 24 hours break from the baby. Brandon took her, he fed her, he did everything for a whole 24 hours and it went very well. I pumped just whenever she ate and I had a chance to go to the dog park without like any limitations. I was able to wash the dogs while I was there because they definitely needed a bath. And, you know, I wouldn't do that if I had Carice with me just because I don't want a baby screaming while I'm halfway through shampooing a dog. I got a ton of chores done around the house. I did the laundry. I got to enjoy an adult beverage and I watched some adult TV shows, which I should put a little asterisk. When I say I'm watching adult TV, I'm saying I'm watching something that Brandon and I have agreed is not appropriate to watch in front of the baby. The baby with me right here. Baby doesn't watch Black Mirror, but Mama does. So I watched a whole season of Black Mirror. I read 3 chapters in my vaccine book. It was just a lovely day. It really was. And what I learned this morning as I was kind of getting back into the groove and changing her and feeding her and holding her is this issue that I'm having with my hands. So I had carpal tunnel the entire pregnancy, and post-pregnancy it got a little better, but then it was like in both of my thumbs, and my other thumb is not nearly as bad, but the tendon that's kind of like at the where the thumb and the hand connect, it has caused me significant pain, and I can't do anything with this hand. I can't open a door. I can't write. And this is my dominant hand. This is my writing hand. I can't write with a pen easily. I can't text with this hand. I can't, like bathe myself with this hand or like wipe myself with this hand. So like I'm doing everything now with my left hand. And part of the thing that I realized, like, as I was getting Carice back was I went to try to like stroke her head. I'm gonna cry, man. And I don't feel like I can interact with her in the way I want to. It's very hard to hold her. It's hard to pick her up. So I pretty much use this hand as like more like a support hand. And to not be able to do those things, I think is part of the only stress I feel as a mom, which is, some women suffer from depression, trauma, like all sorts of stuff after giving birth. But so this is minuscule compared to what a lot of women deal with. But to have this impeding my ability to connect with Carice is very painful, and I don't think I realized how much until I had been away from her for 24 hours, and I kind of had a break from not really feeling like I had to depend on this hand, because, if you don't have a baby you're trying to love on and interact with and care for, it really doesn't matter that much. Like, so what if I have to turn a page of a book with my index finger? Like I can't pinch anything easily with it. So, things like diapering, getting her dressed, picking her up and holding her, it's just a constant strain and stress. And I've realized that frustration and that stress and that pain has really impacted my ability to connect with and even engage with her in the way that I want to. Because, if you go to stroke your baby's head and you're like, oh, I don't want to stroke her head with this Velcro and this hard stuff and, these rough edges, then it's like there's a tiny little part of your heart that kind of takes a step back, and you're like, oh, I won't hope for that. Like, I won't imagine that. I won't think about wanting that. And I think today I just realized how much I feel the void of it and how much I long for it. And don't worry, because I am actually going to talk to a hand surgeon tomorrow. And apparently it's a very easy procedure, and normally I am adamant against this kind of stuff, but I'm like, sign me up. If you'll do it tomorrow, I will lay me on the table, because I want to connect with my baby. And so I feel like I'm very excited about getting the surgery. We'll do one hand at a time, starting with my right. And I guess it's a 6-week recovery. You're in and out in like 3 hours. And the pain apparently goes away pretty instantly. And then you wear a brace or a splint very similar to this for like 2 weeks. And then I think the rest of it's just normal healing. So that is what I am excited about. And that is also the biggest stress. I am still bleeding, and it's based on activity. So I think it was 4 or 5 nights ago, Carice was really struggling, so I just strapped her on and we went for an hour-long walk around our neighborhood. And don't get me wrong, we weren't gone for a whole hour. We came back halfway through. I laid her down, she went ballistic, we went for another walk. And after that, I bled for like 3 or 4 days. So apparently it's very normal. So everyone who is like, oh, I'm surprised that you're still in recovery, I'm surprised you're still bleeding, blah, blah, blah. Well, apparently it's pretty normal to go all the way through the 12-week mark, with a C-section especially, because, they cut through half your body. They take they rearrange your organs, they pull a baby out, and then they have to suture all of those layers of tissue and muscle and skin. And that just takes a lot of time to heal. So I'm not worried. I am a little sad because, when your baby is colicky and it wants constant movement, it's like, okay, well, if I'm in recovery and if it's going to mean I'm bleeding and, ruining pairs of pants and stuff for the next few days, what can you do? I can only walk so much. I can only bounce on a ball so much. So that makes it a little bit challenging to connect as well. And I think that that's the thing about the recovery. Like, having a baby for me really wasn't that big of a deal. It was a big deal in a very sentimental way, but it wasn't physically as big of a deal as I was expecting. The labor wasn't as big of a deal. Like, I haven't dealt with any pelvic floor issues. Bless you, girl. But the recovery, caring for a newborn, trying to let people into the process to the extent that they want to be and will be, while simultaneously guarding and protecting your own needs for privacy, your own needs for like rest and kind of coming back. That's a tough balance, man. And so I feel like that recovery in conjunction with the physical demands of caring for a newborn, which can easily be underestimated. I've had a lot of experiences with newborns, but I've never had an experience in recovery. Like, as a nanny, I've worked with several newborns, but I was never in a state of sleep deprivation mixed with significant surgery, where like you can't use your abs for several weeks, you can't get up and down, you can't walk around. So that makes caring for a newborn like a game changer. And that's kind of my update. I'm happy. I gained a couple pounds since I got down to my birth weight. It went back up a little bit, but I'm not even back to trying. I'm not trying. I'm just not trying. And don't plan on it for another few weeks. I'm giving myself some time until I can work out again. I have started logging my calories. I've started making our bed every day. Half the bed is made. I'm going to make the other half when we get up. And I've started reading my book. So I'm getting back to little habits that I really want as lifestyle habits, like, you know, making the bed, cleaning the house, doing the dishes, reading my books, connecting with the Lord, doing my Bible study, and just learning what do those things look like with a baby and with a heart that longs to hold it with an open hand. Because, you know, in the past, I've always either been ultra structured and scheduled, or I've been unable to sustain a large variety of habits. Because the way I've always structured my life before all of this was I was pursuing so many things at once that if I didn't keep a very strict, tight schedule, I couldn't do it all. Now I have cut back everything in my life. For the last year and a half, 2 years, I've just been saying no to everything. And as a result, I have a lot of free time, which has been filled by rest. And it's been filled by little moments like this where I can just enjoy having my baby in bed and drinking coffee and, you know, reading, going for walks. And that's so important. I think if a new mom can do it, is to create as much space as possible so that you have those moments of stillness and quiet where you can just sit and be. And I really think that's part of the reason I don't feel like I've dealt with any postpartum depression or anxiety, is because I've had time to process, and I've had time to reflect and observe and just kind of be. I look forward to getting back to things, especially walking and hiking. That's one of the things I miss the most, is being able to go for long walks and hikes. I miss exploring. I miss geocaching, which is something I think I'll add back in pretty soon, because that's so easy and you can just do it whenever you feel like it. But little things like that, I am connecting with more and more friends. I'm trying to see someone at least once a week, which is plenty for me. What else? I'm even starting to notice, for the first time in almost 2 years since we got married, I have a desire to plan and organize and create again, where, you know, I've just been in such a state of having to adapt and learn to give in the context of a marriage, and now as a mom, where up until this point I just couldn't plan or invest in anything extra. And now I'm finding myself let's throw a party, or let's go out, let's do a fun date, let's go for an adventure. And so that part of who I am is coming back, which is really exciting for me. The other thing, I don't want to make any commitments or set any goals or standards for myself that cannot be adjusted easily, because for the next 4 or 5 years, we want to be in a state of having children, recovering, having another baby, recovering, and so forth. So until I know that our last child is out of diapers, I don't really want to make any commitments that are long-term or really, intense, because I feel like if my next pregnancy goes the way my last pregnancy goes, I'm going to have to scale back completely again. And, that's a big deal. I want to be the kind of mom that has the room in my life to show up for my kids and to be present and to be aware of what they need. But I also want to be the kind of mom that has a life of my own and has friends and goes out and doesn't lose myself in motherhood. I don't want my motherhood to become my identity. I want it to be an aspect of my identity. I want it to be a part of my life, but I don't want it to be my world. And I want to set that standard for my own daughter so that, whenever she gets older and grows up, she knows that she has permission to have friends and she has permission to work if she wants to, or, pursue things. Just because she had kids doesn't mean that she has to stay at home all the time. And that she's worth having the other desires of her hearts and the other needs of who she is met, even though she is expanding herself and giving of herself. And I don't think that that's selfish or wrong. Especially if you know how to find the balance of, being fully present, showing up. Like, I think it's a little different if you don't have capacity because you're doing these other things, but I think the other things should be an extra, a bonus. And I think even for the sake of our children, it's very important to get out and be engaged. My parents did that, and it created such a richness to our lives because of the things that they were involved in. And I want that for my daughter and for any other kids that we have. But I also, I want to potty train, and be fully present and, do the physical therapy and all the stuff that we're doing right now, and be the one to teach my kids in the early days before they learn important stuff that, who knows how to do math anymore? Before they start learning all of that, I want to be the one to teach her colors and her letters and stuff. And that just requires life to slow down, and it requires space, and it requires enough space not only to carve out for the goal and for the objective, but for the rest in between, and for those moments where you have to say, it's not right now. I can see that my baby needs a little breather, but maybe in 10 or 15 minutes, we'll try this or that. And if your life is so crammed full of stuff, you're not going to have that leeway in your schedule to say, let's push bedtime back 15, an hour, 2 hours, because I can see that my child just needs to be on me for a while. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm trying to create space for, while also getting back into things. And I'm very hopeful that the surgery will fix my hand. Apparently, once you get this surgery, even if I get pregnant again, it won't be an issue because it will release the tendon. So I have a long list of questions to ask the surgeon, but from what I've been told, I won't have to deal with this again, which will make a huge difference in my future pregnancies as well. So that's my long update. 8 weeks postpartum. We are going to go get dressed. See, I just have to touch her with my fingertips pretty much. That's not, it's not fulfilling. Dove dog playing. You got a toy? We're going to go get dressed. We're going to finish coffee. We're going to do our laundry. And then we are going to do the dishes and start our day.